A quick note before we get into the episode. Oversharing is a podcast for entertainment purposes only. It is not a medical podcast and does not constitute medical or psychological advice. Always seek the advice of your physician or mental health professional. All right, let's do some intentions. Hello, Dr. Naomi and Jordana. I'd love some help setting some intentions for my most dreaded time of the year, Thanksgiving. The holiday has always caused me anxiety ever since I was a kid. Growing up, I disliked the food and always felt scolded by my extended family for only eating rolls. Then in high school, I had an obvious eating disorder and it felt like everyone was always overanalyzing my plate. I hated it so much that I got a retail job and always volunteered to work the holidays so I could avoid it. Now, as an adult and a mom, it's unavoidable. We celebrate at my mother-in-law's house, and she puts a lot of effort into making sure I feel welcome and that there's plenty of dishes I can eat. I've been a strict vegetarian for over 10 years, but I still dread the day. I'm an anxious wreck for the weeks leading up and end up being snappy and rude towards my husband. I don't want to pass down this food-related anxiety to my kids, and I don't want my husband's family thinking it's anything personal towards them. Any intentions and exercises to mentally prepare would be greatly appreciated. Thanks. No thanks, Betch.
Yeah, these childhood associations are really embedded. And it sounds like her Thanksgiving now is lovely, and her mother-in-law tries to make her stuff that she likes and can be comfortable, and it's not the way that it used to be, but it's still hard to shake that association. And that's around all holidays. Like you've probably heard this before, but like therapists will oftentimes get like a lot more calls and people wanting to start therapy either during the holidays or right after the holidays or just leading up to the holidays, because there's like this every year association with something happening one way or the other that just, I think, puts your nervous system on overload.
Triggers some probably opposite of the lovely family vacation memories that I shared earlier. But yeah, I think that's true. And I think that for someone who maybe has had a complicated relationship with food, a holiday where like the whole holiday is basically eating, I think could give you anxiety. Like, just, that being like basically the central focus of the day.
Right. And I do wonder, I wish she were here or gave us some more information about it. Is it still about the food, right? Is it about the way that her family made her feel around food in the past? Is it still about the food? Because it does sound like her food needs are being catered to in terms of vegetarian dishes and having things that she's saying make her more comfortable to eat, but maybe just the idea of like, just the conversation and people saying, oh, it's delicious. And, just the whole, like you said, holiday being about the food, if that still makes her anxious because she's struggling with her relationship with food, which I think is worth her exploring if that's the case. Or maybe it really just is this old wiring of like, I get anxious at this time of year. That's like a very real thing too, whether it's around loss that happened in a certain season. And then that season, just the sensory input of that season, like that first chill or the smell of leaves on the ground or whatever, like can bring up those old feelings of anxiety. We're so tuned into protecting ourselves that just this whole time, like she said, weeks leading up to it, she's like snappy with her husband, and just the association of this time of year and what it used to mean.
Yeah, I could totally feel that. I don't really like Thanksgiving either. Not about like for like the food situation of it, I think. But I think we would always, our mom would always tell us we could go with our dad. We would like disperse. But then there was like, our dad didn't really have like a house. So we would go to dinner, but then we'd always be fighting. And there would just be like a lot of like chaotic fighting. And like all the girls just like screaming at it. I just never felt like, and I think there's this like TV version of these holidays that you see where everyone is like on Instagram or like
wearing
love
their
it.
sweaters
Yes.
and their perfect turkey in the middle of the table. Yeah.
And the family's all together and like looking forward to it and excited. And then I think you can feel a sense of like, this doesn't feel like it feels, not only am I not looking forward to this, and I kind of go with Mike's family now on Thanksgiving anyway, but it's just like, but I feel a little weird about how excited everyone else is for this thing.
Right. Well, interesting for you, right? Because like you said, we went with our dads on Thanksgiving. So we had very different Thanksgiving memories.
Right.
And I really like Thanksgiving. I think it was a different vibe. Like he was, remarried and they had more of that like picture perfect, traditional setup.
It was like a setup.
Yeah. But now that like you do have kind of a more traditional picture perfect, I'm sure Mike's mom probably makes a beautiful Thanksgiving.
It's lovely. But it still doesn't, I kind of get what she's saying, where it still doesn't feel like something I'm so excited for.
Well, you probably you aren't connected the same way like Mike and his parents and maybe his siblings or whoever's there. Like you're not connected to the nostalgia of it.
Right.
The way that they are. You're just like in that moment. Like you're kind of like in this moment, this is great, but that's all it means to me. And I'm also fighting against what it used to mean to me.
Right.
So it's like the moment, maybe -5, because you're like, you have this old association, which is for some people, it's like the moment +5, like Aruba was probably like the moment +5 because you like had this positive association.
Good. Yeah.
So yeah, I get this. And I think, and maybe you can practice this too, is kind of, opening yourself up to the new experience. I think sometimes what happens is you're almost like protective of your own associations. Like that's your childhood. So sometimes it feels like leaning into somebody else's. I think people can go either way with this. Like sometimes you marry into something that feels like healthy and normal and nice and pleasant. And you can be like, yes, I'm leaning so hard into that. Like, I'm going to do all the things. I'm going to bake 3 dishes. I'm going to be a part of this.
Right.
But for some people, that feels a little bit like maybe fake or phony, or I'm like rejecting my truth. Even if it is, yes. I'm like rejecting this truth of like how I really feel about this holiday. So I'm kind of just going to be like guarded and like not exactly lean in entirely to this thing because it's not mine. Like it doesn't feel like me. It feels like if I'm pretending that it's me. But I would, challenge yourself there with that, like see, because you are going to have, this is for you and for her, you are going to, God willing, have like more of your life in this new environment than you did in that old environment. So the sooner you can kind of lean in and be like, this is an opportunity to have a reparative experience and lean in differently.
Yeah. And to think of it as like its own new, unique experience and sort of separate the two is probably helpful.
Yeah. And also like honor your own pain around it. Like, I think that's part of it too. Like in those weeks leading up, I think instead of like, maybe that's why you're snapping at your husband because she's like, not honoring what was there. Like there's some pain there. Mm-hmm. We talked last week a little bit about like the rain meditation, which I'm going to talk more about on our subscription episode, but it's really beneficial when you feel like you're rejecting an emotion that you're having. Like maybe you are still sad for that teenage girl that had to sit at the table and have everyone staring at her and all you want to do is like run away and not eat, but like you're forcing whatever that was. Like maybe there's still some grief there for her. Maybe you are still struggling with food stuff or even the criticism from when you were a little kid. Like there's always that kid that only wants to eat like rolls at Thanksgiving, because a lot of that food is like heavy and it's intense and I get it. But yeah, I think this is a good opportunity to maybe do some healing for yourself around like what was. And this is for you too, right?
Okay.
Like
the two of us will take this intention. Yes.
And we all can do it. Like I'm going to talk about on the subscription episode, like how I walk myself through the rain meditation when I felt like there was some wounds that were being triggered. It's a great way to recognize like, okay, there's something here that is causing trouble in my current life that's old perhaps. Or it doesn't have to be old, but there's something here. And I'm going to like, just allow myself to have my feelings like of pain or loss, or maybe there is something like, I feel jealous that I'm not fully a part of this and I didn't grow up with this, and or anger about like, divorce and being split up. And I know you missed me so much on Thanksgiving, but like we weren't together. But there probably was a thing of like, hey, they get to go and have this like normal Thanksgiving.
Where everything's like set up for them and everything, is great. And everyone's getting along. And
I'm getting like Boston Market and sitting, sitting around this like table with just the sisters, and
everyone's like kind of angry.
Yeah. Maybe there's some leaning in to do around that for you, for her, around just, these little moments where there's something here.
Right.
That's what's asking to be seen when you're anxious for weeks before. And maybe it's food and weight and body image and whatever, or maybe it's just the loss of the joy of Thanksgiving when you were a kid because you were so distracted by this whole thing.
Love that. Okay. So what's her intention for when she starts to feel that anxiety?
Yeah. So I will tune in to what's in my heart and open to a new experience. So like, seeing what's there, there's something there that's hurting you. Allow it. I would do the rain meditation around it, which we can talk more about, and then tune in to the idea that maybe you can have a new reparative experience around this holiday, which will be beautiful because you'll have the next 50 years of enjoying it.
Yeah, I agree. You've got there's a whole second half of life Thanksgiving here. So lean in. I will too. And if you want that episode where Naomi talks about the RAIN method, will be out on Thursday. So if you are interested in subscribing, want to check it out there. You get a 7-day free trial if you kind of just want to see what we're all about.
Yeah.
All right, let's do some triggers.
Let's do it. Hi, Jordana and Dr. Naomi. I have a triggered scenario for you that is actually my friend's triggered, but I thought it would be a fun one to get your takes on. So my friend, let's call her Jane, just got married this summer. She just got back her beautiful photos from the wedding and shared the link with various friends and family members, including her now brother-in-law, let's call him Ryan, and his girlfriend, let's call her Emily.
So the husband's brother.
The husband's brother. I had to read this a few times.
Yeah. Okay.
Emily and Ryan have been dating for a couple of years. Today, Emily texted Jane to casually let her know that she got a puzzle made on Etsy depicting one of the professional pictures from the wedding to gift to Ryan/Jane's husband's grandmother. The picture was only of Jane, her husband, and their dog. Nobody else in the family was in the photo. I didn't personally find this part that triggering, more so just kind of weird, but also understood Jane not loving this. Here's the crazy part. Jane had a feeling this wasn't the only picture Emily was planning to use as a Christmas present. So even though Jane didn't say anything about the puzzle, she did let Emily know that she developed a bunch of pictures from her wedding and was planning to frame them to give as Christmas gifts to family members in case Emily had the same idea. Emily responded, "Thanks for letting me know. I did have the same idea." That was good heads up thinking.
Yeah.
So I don't think I would have necessarily
thought of that. Yeah.
Jane was very triggered by this because these were the pictures from her own wedding and a non-family member was planning to gift them to her family as Christmas presents, something Jane was already planning to do. I'd be triggered too. I mean, you spend thousands on wedding photos. The least you should be able to do is have to not worry about figuring out Christmas presents for everyone that year. We encouraged Jane to politely request she not do that as they are pictures from her wedding day and she was already planning to frame them for people. Jane did so, saying that she appreciated the thought, but really preferred for her and her husband to be able to share the pictures themselves. Emily said she understood, but she already bought the frames. but she would just put pictures from a recent family vacation they all went on instead. Luckily, Emily agreed to not gift the pictures, but we were all pretty shocked that she went so far as to purchase frames for these photos that did not belong to her. Can't wait to hear you guys hash this one out. It was clearly the hot topic in our group chat today. LOL. Thanks. Something borrowed.
This seems like really sweet to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really see what the issue is here. Besides,
Yeah.
like,
I agree. I think it's sweet. I wouldn't, like, I could see myself doing this and not thinking, oh, what if Jane wants to use these as Christmas presents? But great. She had the forethought to realize, oh, she might have the same idea I do.
right.
Told her. She backed off and said, I'll use the frames for something else.
Right.
I think this was handled well.
It's triggering that she had the idea, I guess, to do it.
I think what's triggering is that she not only had the idea, but like went so far as to implement the idea without checking with her. Like, do you mind if I use your photos
Right.
as gifts? I think is what's triggering. Like not asking for permission, almost like a copyright thing or something. Like,
yeah, I mean, maybe it's because I think maybe there's a little, it sounds to me like there's a little possessiveness of like the in family group and the out family group.
non-family member. Would it bother her if like a cousin did this?
Yeah. I mean, when Mike and I got engaged, you actually gave us like a scrapbook of like all the pictures from like all the trips that we took together. And that was never a thought in my mind of like, you took my pictures that I like took from all these things and like used it as a gift. It seems like I can't imagine a negative intention on the behalf of it sounds like she's trying really hard to be like ingratiated into the family.
Yeah. And I think almost the idea that the photo that she chose was just of Jane's family, I think that's even like a little bit nice. It's nice that it's like, this is like a beautiful picture of your little family and I'm going to give it to his grandmother because it's like such a beautiful picture of your family. It has nothing to do with me. I'm not in it.
Right.
Even like my boyfriend is not in it.
Yeah. I'm not trying to put my face around your whole family's like house yet.
Right. Like it's just this, this is a beautiful picture. I think your grandmother would love this beautiful picture from your wedding framed. I think what's bugging her is that like she wanted to do it and now it felt like her idea was less special or that she almost like, that would have been annoying. That would have been annoying if she would have done it and they both show up to Christmas with like the same exact gift and it was her photos. That would have been annoying. But the fact that you stopped it before it happened and then she was like, okay, I'll use the frames for some family vacation pics. No problem.
Right.
I think this was handled perfectly and well, and it wasn't mean of her to have the idea.
Yeah. To me, this seems like maybe you don't like her. She doesn't like her.
Yeah.
Or there's like, I do think sometimes you get this. I don't know if she's the only girl in the family and there's like the brothers has the girlfriend and she's kind of like, I'm like the alpha female here.
Right. I'm the thoughtful, crafty, creative one that's going to like be the
know your place
creative gift giver. That's not you. That's my role. To give grandma like the framed photo. You can just show up with a gift card and that will be a good gift for you.
She almost doesn't want her to be like going the extra mile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I would maybe examine that. I mean, again, like it seems a little petty to be like mad at her for something that she was trying to do that was thoughtful. If it actually happened, maybe I'd give it like a 4 because it would be like annoying and they are your pictures that you paid for. Fine.
Right.
The fact that it didn't happen and she just had the same thought as you, I would give it like a 2. Like it actually seems really sweet. Like she seems
like
really,
she's trying to like get in with the family and like give a thoughtful gift. And she's also trying to say like, your photos are awesome. I do get it. I'm going to give it a 3 because I wouldn't be triggered personally, but I think what's triggering this listener is that she didn't say, hey, these photos are so awesome. Would you mind if I print some of them up and give them to grandma for Christmas. Like, I think the not asking, I think, is the hard part, but
I guess maybe she wanted to be like a little surprise.
A surprise. She was probably going to do one for you too. I'm trying to 2.5 even. I agree. I don't think there's anything to be mad at here.
If Mike got some pictures framed from like Lila's bat mitzvah and gave everyone one for Hanukkah, would you be like, those are my pictures?
Not at all, because I wasn't going to do that, I guess. Like I would actually be flattered. I would think it was like so thoughtful and sweet that this was such a special occasion that everybody would love a photo. Like, I just think it is a really sweet gesture. I think if that was my plan, and my plan was like, now I feel like, oh, that was obvious. Like, that wasn't such a unique idea, or
well, it wasn't. There you go. Surprise.
Surprise. It was not a unique idea. I know. I agree. I think this was sweet. I'm glad it didn't happen. I'm just thankful that you thought, oh, wow, I wonder if she's going to do more of this, and thought to put that out there, because that would have been way more annoying. Although I'm sure you would have picked 2 different photos. So like, what would have the problem really been if you want to step back and look at it? Like, wouldn't be the craziest thing if grandma has 2 different photos from your wedding framed? Like, okay. Unless you pick the same exact photo.
I think this person's like annoyed that this person's like encroaching on her family role of.
There is a bit of like a brother, sister-in-law thing. We've gotten an email about that, of like the sister that was like too involved in the baking cookies, and I guess she's like, sisters can be a little possessive, over their brothers.
Tell Emily if she wants to frame my wedding photos. I haven't done any of that yet. It's been it's been almost 4 years. If she wants to do that, she can come over. I'll send her the link.
Send them on over.
Send them to all my family members.
Totally. I have so many photos from events that are still sitting on the computer.
Yeah. We'll take her up on that. Send her our way.
All right.
Let's do one more. I will read it. Hi, Jordana and Naomi. Huge fan of the show. Tuesdays feel a little less Tuesday-ish when I get to start them with you both. I really value the way you talk through interpersonal dynamics and the advice you offer. I use it all the time in my own life. I have a triggered scenario I'd love your take on. I'm part of a very close-knit friend group. However, there is one girl in the group, let's call her Sophie, who I don't feel as close to. Our personalities don't mesh. I'm more of a people pleaser, while she's more confrontational and tends to push for her preferences or stir up unnecessary disagreements. Recently, we were at a birthday party for a mutual friend. Sophie left early, and later I was chatting with some of the birthday girl and Sophie's mutual friends that I don't know very well. I complimented one girl's engagement ring. We got married around the same time, and she said, very casually, "Thank you. Sophie told me your ring was moissanite also." Just to be clear, I have zero issues with moissanite. It's gorgeous and absolutely a personal choice. But my engagement ring is a diamond ring. My husband hand-selected the center stone and designed the ring around it himself. It's meaningful to me on an emotional level, and I'm very proud of it. I was caught off guard, and I didn't want to make it weird or seem like I was judging hers, so I just said, "Oh, mine's actually a diamond," and then moved the conversation along. But it has been bothering me ever since. The comment was made in front of others, and now I feel like people think I'm lying about my ring. I don't know why Sophie would say that, or when or to whom, and it makes me feel weirdly embarrassed, like I either correct the record and look materialistic or let it go and sit with people thinking I'm fake or performative. So how triggered am I allowed to be with Sophie? And if I do choose to bring it up, what's the non-weird, non-obsessive, I care too much about jewelry way to do that? Thanks so much for your insight. Sincerely, a Betch who is just trying to polish her reputation. This is funny.
Yeah, this is funny. I think the triggering part of this is that she was talking about her and her ring,
right?
More so than like this little interaction that she had with the friend.
Right. It seems like, and she isn't saying this, but it seems like the friend, like Sophie was like trying to talk shit about her.
Yeah.
In some way.
Yep.
Or like,
right.
take her down a little or whatever.
They probably, maybe she posted a picture of it on Instagram and then someone was like, oh my God, that ring was so beautiful. And she was like, yeah, it's moissanite or whatever. Like just to like knock it down. Like how else does that conversation happen?
Right. Especially if she's saying that she's the type that pushes her preferences or stirs up unnecessary disagreements. And it sounds like she's just like a little bit more of like a shit talker.
Right.
So that would be my thought. It's like, oh, she was like making fun of me in some way or something.
Mm-hmm.
She was using this thing, but she's like, love moissanite. It's beautiful. Absolutely no issue with it. But
mine's a diamond.
I've got a diamond.
Yeah, totally. I think she's getting a little bit down a rabbit hole to think that other people that overheard the conversation are going to think that she really doesn't like moissanite and she really is materialistic because she corrected the record.
Right.
Like if I overheard that conversation, yes, or that she's lying. If I overheard that conversation, I would think she did nothing wrong. She said, oh, it's so funny. We both have moissanite. And she said, no, actually mine's a diamond. Move along. Like I would be like, not think twice about that. She said something wrong.
Right.
She corrected her, move on. I don't think it was as awkward as it or it came off as, I mean, I guess we are laughing that she's like, actually mine's a diamond, but I don't think there's anything wrong. I mean, if she said, it's just correcting
it's not like
the tone.
I agree. Cause she said like, someone told me this about you. And she's like, oh, actually this is the case. She wasn't like, oh no, like it's definitely a dime. Like definitely not.
Right.
It sounds like
Where'd
she said it.
That?
Right. Yeah. Sounds like she said it casually enough to where she just like casually corrected her without making it a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I think she's getting a little in her head about the part 2. The part 1 where this girl was like talking about her and her ring and like making an assumption about it. Look, I would be flattered. It probably is like really big. And she was probably like, how could they afford that? And then she's like, oh, it's probably this, or was just trying to push her down. I mean, I don't even know anything about diamond rings or moissanite. It's the first time I had to look it up before we did this episode. I'm assuming it's a cheaper version. So
yeah, it's just not a real diamond. So it's like a less expensive version. But it looks like one.
Right.
Yeah. And
Love the concept.
Right. And I could see why she'd be like annoyed that everyone thinks that someone's telling someone that it's not real when it is. I could see why you're like, that's just not like, if that was the case, I would own it, but it's just like not. And so
even if it was moissanite, it's kind of annoying that someone was
telling
that
everyone.
It gets back to you that someone was speculating about what your ring was, which is, look, people do that, but it's almost better if it doesn't get back to you that they were doing that, where it's like, now you know that they were having some conversation about your ring behind your back.
And now she has to worry about sounding like an asshole if she does clarify. So I could see being triggered and irritated, and also just feeling like, though, there's someone out there who's like, kind of like being a bitch to me behind my back, and like, what else is she saying about me? And like, I don't, adds to this feeling of like distrust and like, what are people saying about me behind my back? And I think that part feels,
that's the thing,
anxiety
ridden.
It is not really about the ring. Although again, I validate that if you have a real ring and someone thinks it's not, like if you had a real bag and everyone said it was fake, you'd be like, it's not. So it's like a part of the reason you pay for a real bag is that so that people don't talk about how it's fake.
Right. Very true. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that, but I wouldn't worry that people think you're materialistic because you corrected her. Like,
if you sent an email after and then we're like, hey, anyone who's heard this rumor, it's not true. I want everyone
yes.
My ring is real.
So to address the second part of it, I would leave it alone. I don't think you need to address Sophie, like, why are you talking shit about my ring? Like, I wouldn't even go there.
Says more about her than you.
Yeah. I mean, unless she's a really good friend and like you feel like you have to clear the air because it's causing like hard feelings between the two of you that are lingering.
I mean, if she was like your best friend, if it was like my best friend, I would easily just be like, why did you tell that girl that my ring is
fake? Right. Yes. Right. Totally. If this is just someone who's an acquaintance, that's like, it's a her problem.
Right.
She's just, a little bit of a shit talker. It got back to you. Probably shouldn't have been repeated because it was speculation. And I would just move on. Don't worry about people thinking you're materialistic. I think that's just in your head.
Yeah. I would give it like hearing that again because of the first part. And like there's someone out there who's like clearly making some sort of saying. I think if she said it, it was to say it as a dig. So
yes,
I would give it like a 5 because I would be like, in my head, I'd be like, not only is it annoying that she's like talking shit about me, but like what else is she saying to people about me?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I'll give it a 4.
And she's in a position where it's hard to like really correct the record or find out what's being said.
Right. Well, the good news is you did get to find out what was being said and you did get to correct the record.
That's true.
On this particular occasion.
Right.
Maybe there's other stuff out there, but
I'm sure there's other stuff, not to scare you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Right. But that's just some people, like it's the same thing. If someone's like, oh, I heard that you're not a real blonde either. And you're like, actually, I am a real blonde. Like, okay. But it does feel like somebody was being like, oh yeah, she's not a real blonde. Like that happened. If someone's making that comment.
But I could see why you'd be like, oh, it feels worse to feel like she's a fake blonde who's pretending to be a real blonde than she's a fake blonde who is open about dyeing her hair.
Right. Yes. Yes. So that's where her
anxiety
rabbit hole.
That's her anxiety lies, where she's like, if I had the ring, it would be like I had the ring, but like now everyone thinks that not only am I someone who doesn't have the ring, but I don't have the ring and I'm pretending to have a real ring.
Right. What is the culture around this moissanite ring? Is this a thing where people are just like mostly get it and then they're just like don't really mention it? Or is it a thing where people are like, oh my, open about it?
I don't know much about moissanite. I know natural diamonds are like, and lab grown diamonds.
Another thing.
I think that's a third option is like there's like moissanite, which is like a different kind of material or stone. And then there's lab grown, which is like supposed to be like a diamond, but made in like a factory and like usually like a more perfect version of a diamond that is much less expensive, but a lot less expensive. And like, again, I think that's a whole conversation rabbit hole about the engagement ring and what it says and what you need it to be and what the size is. And like, I think that could be its own you should do a psychology 101 about the psychology of engagement rings.
Right. Well, even with this listener, she is kind of like, she took pride in this ring. Like there was something about this where she felt like an ego satisfaction about her husband's love for her or his romantic gesture and perhaps the amount of money that he, yes. Mm-hmm. So I do think there is a psychology around what this gift of love symbolizes about the relationship, and financial security and how much, all of it.
Yeah.
And for some people, that probably helps them feel safer in the relationship, like the safer either romantically or financially. And for some people, maybe they get that feeling from something else. But yeah, it is an interesting conversation. Like there's a lot around that. We could maybe save that for another episode, but I think there's a lot around like this tiny little piece of jewelry and like the significance that it holds for you in starting a life with somebody.
Yeah, definitely we'll talk about that again.
All right.
But for now, we did it. Thanks for joining us for this week's episode. Check out our subscription episodes. And if you want to write in, oversharing@betches.com.
All right. That's our time.
Great work today.